Literally, I wrote the book, got the poems down, had to go through a cover, had to figure out how to publish it, figured out all that. But after that, when the book dropped, I was speaking probably once a month for 2 years straight. People were
Wow.
hitting me up. All right, welcome. Welcome, folks. We are talking about getting your first book done. Because if you don't have a book as a speaker, you are missing out on cash, opportunity, and longevity when it comes to this field. So I'm so excited to have this conversation with you, Gio. What I really appreciate about you, I want to give you your flowers before we even get started with the conversation. I've seen so many people say they're going to write a book, and then when they make it happen, usually on the back end of it is you. Like most of the people that I see that say it and then they actually complete it for like the last year, speakers and consultants have been you. So I'll give you your flowers for that. And then
I
I feel like,
appreciate it.
one of my goals is to diversify this industry with as many folks of color, Black folks as possible. And I know that, I don't know if that's a passion or if you just attract our folks, but you're also creating more Black authors, which I think is just
Yeah.
amazing for the
That's just
field.
a
So I just want to give you your flowers and thank you for doing the labor, because I know it's not easy manifesting people's dreams.
no, thank you for that. And I think it's a God thing that it just so happens that a lot of the black voices are the ones that are being amplified. It's not something deliberate. I don't just talk in Tyler Perry and BT talk or something to get it. But I'm just definitely grateful. And I think I'm more mindful now of the fight of those voices trying to be silenced and really trying to go and use the pen to paper to really like supersede whatever gatekeeping or walls that systems can put in place to kind of like prevent us from being able to do what we got to do.
Yeah, it's a lot of them, man. I went through a formal MFA program. I don't know if you know that. So I have my master's in fine arts and creative writing. And I
Oh
remember,
wow.
right, being in the program and them telling us like how hard it is to get a book deal. Even a Black woman came in and talks about how hard it is for like women of color in particular to even get seen in certain genres, right? Well, especially when we're talking about like nonfiction and business development type of books. So what you're doing is like changing the world. And I just want you to know that like statistically, I think when we look at this, like probably 10 to 20 years from now, you're going to have like a big impact. And we'll be like, where do all these Black authors come from? Where do these Black women come from? And it's probably going to lead back to your work. So as we get started, can you tell folks a little bit about like how you got started, particularly writing and speaking, and why you're so passionate about it?
Yeah, no, I think so it started with speaking. So speaking for me was like the holy grail. I wanted to be able to be the big brother that everybody didn't have, right? So it's like, I didn't have the older sibling or the older cousin that reached back and say, don't go left, go right.
Yeah.
And so I was like, listen, man, I need a cheat code, and I never had it. But if I can contribute to somebody else being able to have it, I want to do that. And so that put me on the path of speaking. But then speaking is a business, but I wasn't getting any business for it. Right. And so what I tell people is that people thought I was running for office maybe because they were telling me to speak for free all the time. I'm like, I don't need votes. Like I need checks. Like I need something to of value that the bank will acknowledge. And so right before I was about to quit speaking because it wasn't working and a lot of people weren't seeing me or perceiving me as a paid commodity, I started looking around and doing some research. And when I started doing some research of those who were speaking for a living, the one thing that they had in common, all of them, was that they wrote a book. All of them. Like that was the only thing in their bio that I didn't have. And I said, listen, I gotta get it. Let me find out first. If I get it, let me see if something will change. And evolve, like it just changed completely. Like it was like an abracadabra. Like it was just like magic. It was like people was acting brand new. People was pitching me stuff instead of me pitching them. And I was like, yo, what the heck? And it was all because I had this author now as part of my resume. They didn't even read my book. They just knew I wrote one. And they were like, you got stuff to say, come here. And I'm like, yo, this is nice, and so that got me passionate about it. And then a mentor of mine really had a high belief in books and started telling me, you got to help all these other business owners write their own books. And so that got me from my book to like 30 books in a year that I helped come to life, that were all from entrepreneurs trying to figure out how to um, position themselves in a crowded marketplace.
I love that. I love that. Y'all, if you're watching this live, number one, get your notebook out because we about to get into some gems and
Yeah,
some information. But
yeah.
if this resonates with you, where you are a speaker and you're like, I know I'm the stuff, right? Like I know that I'm a phenomenal speaker. I've got 3 degrees, 4 degrees, and people aren't taking me serious. They're not wanting to pay me. Just go on to put the word money into the comments, right? Whether you're watching now or later, because I think that this resonates for so many of us. And what we're not understanding and what you're speaking about, Jill, is we don't have the credibility that really makes the marketplace move. And that's what a book does, which is really powerful. So you were like, okay, people ain't trying to pay me. I'm not trying to be out here running for Congress. And I want to, get paid to speak. So you wrote the book. How long did it take you to do that process? And if someone right now is like, you know what, I got a book in my notes pad right now. Like, is that what you mean by a book, or is there like a formal process that you need to go through when it comes to writing?
Yeah, there's a formal process for sure, but I think when you feel like you need this money yesterday, like urgency with a definitive process, I should say, will help you get the result a lot sooner than other people, right? So sometimes when I hear people say, "Oh, you can get your book done in 30 days," I'm like, that's not necessarily true unless you've been sitting on the book for like 5 years. Right? Like you've been sitting on your book for 5 years. It's in your notes. It's in your Google Doc. It's in your emails. It's like that's what you've been doing. You can expedite that process once I tell you the road to get there. But honestly, it took me like 6 months to do it, and the heavy lifting was probably like in a weekend. Like, because I got stuck in the middle of it, and what I did was I needed to change my environment and change the circumstance. So I booked a hotel, um, and I bought all my food so I don't have to leave the hotel. And I never booked a checkout date. So, and I didn't want to pay more than one night. So I finished the book that night. I wrote like 7 chapters that night and the book was over. 'Cause I had like about 4 of them already done. So I think for people who are listening to this, who's like, hey, I got this thing in my notes. What do I do? I think the biggest thing is if you don't know where you're going, you're probably going to take longer to get there. And so you want to have somebody who's been there before to tell you, here's the path to take. So that way you're not wasting time. Because I will be honest, I may make it sound simple to write a book, but there's a lot of places for you to get lost.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have done the labor, but still have written the wrong book and got the wrong result. And so I want people to really just lean in, even if you can't pay for a program, get someone to pay for 15 minutes of their time, pay for 20 minutes of their time so that you have direction and then you can apply speed to it to make sure you get to the outcome you desire.
I love that you said you went to a hotel. I often see people as they're starting to talk about writing their book, they'll go on these retreats, right? Like I'm going to take a train from here to New York and write my book. Or I'm going to go to California and I'm going to this retreat to write my book. Or I'm going to go to Hawaii. And I think it's a great way because we do kind of get locked into our environments and we're not able to move. When I wrote my first book, which is a poetry collection, I've never written a nonfiction book. I hope to work with you in 2026 to make that happen.
Yes.
But when I wrote my poetry collection, I remember my wife and I were sitting down and I was like, I want to write a book and I want to do something else. And she was like, you got to just focus on this book. To this day, y'all, I don't even remember what the something else was. But literally, I wrote the book, got the poems down, had to go through a cover, had to figure out how to publish it, figured out all that. But after that, when the book dropped, I was speaking probably once a month for 2 years straight.
Wow.
People were hitting me up. And this was a poetry collection. This wasn't even a nonfiction book.
Yeah.
But, it really spoke to people. And I was like, wow, like this just like turned a machine on that I had no eye that I was going to do. And then people would buy bulk copies of the book, right? Which was really dope. So it'll be extra money. We put out a merch line. Like we really like tapped into it. So I want to talk to you about like the business side of book writing, because what I know is like there's a couple of different strategies. We can go through a formal publisher. we can self-publish. There's Amazon. Like, what is the best method to publish a book when you're thinking about it being a part of your business plan, or is there a best method?
Yeah, I think the best method is subjective. I think it's based on what you have. So if you're somebody who's got 250,000 followers on social media that's following you, you should not self-publish, right? Because a traditional publisher will essentially buy your audience, your access to the audience, and give you money to write the book, that for that audience. So but most of us are not there, right? Like most of us are not in a place where we're like, hey, we got 250,000 thing. I don't really need the traditional publisher, but since they're going to pay me in advance, I'm going to just go get that money from them and get the book done. Most of us are in that self-publishing, hybrid publishing where it's like roll. And that is the sweet spot that I love because it's a lot more control. So when we talk about business, you're gonna put your business hat on. You're gonna learn the ins and outs of the publishing business. You're also gonna get the ability to have the control of what do I name the book? How do I want it to look? It's more authentically you, and you get more of the money. So you don't have to worry about the royalties being, oh man, I only made this little bit of much. You talked about bulk books. Self-publishing allows you to be able to go ahead and do that and make it very lucrative if you are able to plug it into some really good networks. And so I think I tell people all the time, like, I would rather you go and self-publish because I want you to learn the ins and outs of the industry. I think, especially if we're talking about Black and brown folks, we don't understand paper, like the paper industry. Like we don't, we yeah, they tell us, if you want to go and hide something, put it in a book so that the Black and brown people don't know about it, right? But I want to get people to a place, and this is something that, I've left a lot of money on the table with First Book Done because I've never taken ownership of anybody's material.
Oh, wow.
I've never, people are like, why don't you have a publishing house? Why don't you publish for people? I'm like, I didn't do this to own anything. I did this so that somebody had something to own. Like I almost look at it like I want to be like the Harriet Tubman of publishing. Like,
I
you
love
know what I'm
that.
saying? Like I went back and got the people and told them the way to get free. So, with the Underground Railroad. So I want people to learn it. Like I tell you, get your own ISBN number. I tell you why you want to think about it from this perspective. When you talk about the business of it, I tell you, listen, who do you need a yes from? Like this is a business move. This is not a bucket list. I know we talked about it offline. We was talking about bucket list. This is not about bucket list for me. I had no bucket list goal of writing a book. It was a means to an end, but a very good means that led to a very good end. And so I want you to put your business hat on and think about strategically which doors do I need open that every time I keep knocking on it, no one opens the door? Or what rooms do I want to occupy or be spoken of, even if I'm not present? And that's where the book could infiltrate those rooms. And so I want you to think about it from that perspective. It needs to be a solution to a problem. What problem does your business currently have that you want to employ a book to go work on that for you?
I love that. I love that. Because then people are going to want to bring you in to solve that problem as a speaker, as a consultant, as a thought agent, right? And the
Mhm.
book just adds value to that. So if we got 250,000 followers or subscribers somewhere, we got a
The
strong email
traditional,
list,
yeah,
we
yeah.
going for a book deal. If we don't, then we should go on and self-publish. When it comes to self-publishing, is that something that you and your team like support with? Can you tell me a little bit about like if day one I'm like, hey, like we are about to work together, what does that look like, and what does a person need to already have before they start working with you in particular?
Yeah, you don't really need to have too much other than an idea.
Okay.
Right, right. I'm looking for an idea, but I'm also looking like the check mark for me. Like here's a red flag. A red flag for me is if you told me since the age of 3 I wanted to write a book. If you tell me that, I'm 99% trying to figure out how to get out of the conversation, right? Because at that age I can't fathom you thinking of thought leadership. You made me thinking I want to write the next Clifford the Big Red Dog. That's a different story, and I don't specialize in that. But for someone who's starting off with me, it's really an idea. You've run into a problem. When I say a problem, I mean you've started to try to market your services. You have a taste or temperature of what the situation is. You're not a window shopper. You've been inside the store, you know what things, the pricing of things are, but still you haven't found a home yet. And what I'm looking for is to go and help you to create an asset or a product that will attract the things that you want to go and ultimately build. So if your idea seems to speak to that, or I could hear, oh my gosh, you're trying to do this bigger thing, and I could see the book as being a thing to create that spark or be that first domino that could hit the other ones to go and really take off. That's the thing I'm really looking for. And then my team supports in all the different areas from title to writing to design to marketing to the ecosystem of the business that you're trying to build, whether it's podcast, course creation, partnerships, sponsorships, all of those things. We're trying to figure out how do we liquidate this thing that you're creating.
Nice, nice. So, you probably already knew I was going to ask you this question because in our industry, somebody just sold a whole bunch of books. I think it was almost $100 million worth of books, pretty recently, right? Alex Hermosi did
Yeah.
an amazing book launch. When you think about what Alex did in particular, like number one, it was a book launch, but it was a product launch. It was an Alex launch. We're going to call it a whole bunch of
Oh,
things.
yeah.
Right. There's something in particular that I was thinking about. I think that he couldn't have, and I don't say he can't pull things off, but I think he couldn't have pulled that off if it wasn't the third book. I think it was something powerful about this being a trilogy. And I think, people always want to three-peat. Like, I'm a big basketball fan. Y'all see
Yeah,
Kobe in the
yeah,
background, right? That makes things like official. Do you work with people to write like 3-part books? Do you think that particularly helped him make more money? Do you think books build on top of each other? Just tell me a little bit about like what you think about his strategy and the thought of writing a collection of books.
yeah. I think when you say collection of books, there's an author by the name of Ryan Holiday. He wrote a book called The Perennial Seller, and the premise of that book is if you want to sell your first book, write a second one. Right? Because the reality is that if you look at any artist you've studied or you stumbled upon, you start to go and look up their catalog, and you're like, "Yo, I didn't even know you've been doing music since 10 years ago. I didn't know you had your first album." So every time he wrote a book, and he's writing another one as we speak, right? Like I'm pretty sure because why not? Like it's proven to have worked. But I think the reality of him coming with a third one, it goes back to the fact that he says a quote that I really resonate with, where he says, "The person who could wait the most to get paid, the one who could wait the longest to get paid, is the one who's going to get paid the most."
Oh, I like that.
So he's the guy who's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna put out 3 years of content, and then I'm gonna ask you to buy." But I think you got to think of it like, think of all the things he did to promote this book, give people incentives, buy 100 of this, buy all of these things, get his book record so that everybody's now rooting for him to go and pull this off. He had literally every psychological trigger that you could think of at his disposal. He launched all of them all at the same time. And I think for a lot of us, we don't believe in our idea enough to put all the resources we have at our disposal towards one thing. Because we're like, yo, what if it goes wrong? Alex did not think of what if it went wrong. He didn't
That takes
see it
a lot of
wrong.
courage. Yeah.
He didn't see it wrong. He's like, yo, I'm gonna go and do this, and we're gonna like, yeah, you know how much courage. You're a speaker, I'm a speaker too. So when I ask people at a speech, what do you want to be when you grow up, or what's your future look like? They don't like to share it publicly because accountability follows the fact that you made it public. So if I go and say I want to be a doctor, now my classmate sees me taking English literature. You're like, yo, I think you was gonna be a doctor. Your program don't look doctorate. Why you ain't in pre-med? Why you not doing these things? So a lot of us are scared to announce what we're trying to do because we don't want people to add pressure to us. But pressure can make you fold or it could make a diamond. And Alex was like, "Yo, I'm gonna make this indictment." Like that, from the ads to the affiliate commissions that he was paying out to people. Like I saw people who never promote anybody else's stuff
Promote
promoting
him.
his book, promote
Yeah.
him. And I'm like, when did y'all know each other? Like, what's going on? But I'm pretty sure he had stuff in place that made it like a no-brainer for people to participate in it. So to your point about like, is it a trilogy? I don't know if it's the trilogy aspect of it, because I think it just he built this audience. Everybody wanted to come to it's like a big movie. It was like
Mhm.
the internet marketing version of the Oscars slash Super Bowl slash whatever, right? And so everybody went to be there. I was in my car listening to it. Like I'm just like, I just gotta listen to some of it. So, but I think it goes back to, if I was to sum it up, it's, do you believe in your product? And I'll be honest with you, like I've had moments where I'm like, I wasn't envious of his result. I was envious of his conviction for what he was doing.
Mhm.
That's the difference. So when you see, like you said, Kobe, you say, Kobe got rings or whatever. No, I'm jealous of the Mamba mentality. I'm not jealous of the output. I'm jealous of, this dude was wired differently. And if I was wired that way, the output is inevitable. I
Mhm.
think that's the part we got to look at. Like, don't go and say, I want Alex results without saying, I want Alex process, his obsession, to the craft of what he was doing.
Exactly, exactly. Our internet cousin is here in the comments, Rocky.
Hey,
And
hey,
congrats,
hey.
Tim. Rocky just dropped an amazing book. Y'all
I
make sure y'all
know,
go
I
get
know. The book
it.
is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's
But
really,
yeah,
really good.
I think what you're speaking to in particular, that patience in the marketing, so many of the people that I've seen you work with, they start sharing that they're writing the book a long time before it even drops. So maybe we can talk a little
That's
bit
yeah.
about like what does that marketing look like to be successful? Because what I know is you can't just say I'm writing a book today, drop it tomorrow, and expect to have the same success that
No, no.
Alex or even some of the authors that you've worked with have done. So what does that marketing process look like? As much as you can share,
Yeah,
if you
no.
want to share with your private clients.
I'm an open book
Yeah.
until the time expires. Right. So
Yes.
once our time runs out, I'm like, all right, well, I can't share no more. But but one of the first things we do is we do say we're writing a book. Like that's strategic. We
Mhm.
let people know, and we do it in a way where we're building curiosity. So it's not even like I tell people, like the first move is not even telling people I'm writing a book. It's like, oh my gosh, I've been working on something for the past few years. I'm so excited about it. I can't even let the cat out of the bag yet. But when y'all see it, y'all gonna know, oh my, yeah, what? Like, so we're doing this hype. And so there's a little mystery. So some people come out, they say, you having a baby or you doing this, right? So we get them involved. And then afterwards, we literally are dripping and launching the book. Like we got to launch the announcement of the book being a thing before you even launch the book,
Mhm.
because they gotta be excited. They gotta be leaning in already and are pre-sold to like, yo, man, oh my gosh, like, yeah, you've been talking about this so much. I've already been eating all these samples. Let me get the whole meal, right? So one of those first things is always um, telling people what we're working on. And I do this on purpose because I know writing a book is easy for people to quit and not finish it. Many people, there's mad people with unfinished books, unpublished books on their computer. Why I want you to make the announcement is because as much as there's negative peer pressure, I believe in positive peer pressure. So when you say you're going to write a book, people start asking you, where's the book? Yo, when is it coming out? Oh snap! You coming out with it? What the cover look like? Who's your publisher? And so every time, and I tell people, anytime somebody asks you a question, that's them showing interest. It's like going on a date. If you don't go on a date and the other person never asks about you, they're into you. They're into
That's
you.
good.
That's a bad date. Then you're like, what's your favorite food? They didn't even ask you that. Like, what's going on? So I tell people, like, when you start saying about the book and people are asking questions, that's the thing you want them to do. We talk about stuff like, what was the hardest part about writing the book? Who did you become to write the book? Who did you meet in the journey of the book? Why you didn't quit when you got to the middle of the tunnel and you decided to keep on going, even though there was no guarantee that you was going to get the outcome you wanted. So we do all of these storylines and different angles to make sure to keep the book on top of mind and keep it interesting because it's tough to promote the same product every day.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
McDonald's keep coming out with McRib and switching it up to this, like, because it's like because people like novelty. So when you go and say, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book, it's coming out, it's coming out, it's coming out, it's coming out. You get tired of it. So you have to be able to say the same thing, but speak of it from a different point of view. I call it the This Is Us method. Have you ever watched the show This Is Us? You ever heard of it?
I have,
Yeah,
and
so
I cried a couple episodes. I booed.
me too. Right. So the This Is Us method is basically there was one season where there was an incident that happened in the show, and instead of coming up with new episodes, they basically just showed the same incident through the point of view of every different character. Same episode, same scenario. Oh, I think, oh, how did this fire affect the family? And they go through each character's point of view of what that incident was like. That's the way we got to look at marketing. Like you got to look at it from like, yo, you know what? Some people gonna resonate with it being inspirational. Some people gonna resonate with the fact that you never even wanted to write the book in the first place, which is my story. Like I've never wanted to write a book ever in my life. If you had told me you could be a speaker without having to learn how to write a book, I'd have done it 10 times over. But God saw differently. So, but you want to share the insights. And this is the cool thing about it, Evolve. Like, I think that's really cool is there is no content in the journey that you could share that's not going to be relevant to somebody because everyone has a project that they're working on that they have anxiety around, that they're not sure if it's going to be done well. So they'll resonate. Yours is a book. There might be a course. Theirs might be, I'm building my dream house. I'm looking for my special someone, whatever the thing is. So there's a high level of relatability that can come from there if you lean into it and don't get tired of talking about it. This is what like, you have to think about. Like Alex Armosi paid, I forgot what he said. I think he did like $4 million in advertising or something that he spent.
Yeah.
Like to create all those ads, the guy with the green costume, the book dropping from the ceiling and him catching the book. Like there's like all these visual hooks. Yeah, you know, so you see these things and he's like, I gotta find 50 different ways to talk about this book. Some people are gonna resonate with funny, some people are gonna resonate with serious, some people are gonna resonate with the fact that I'm trying to break a record of selling the most nonfiction books in a certain time span. And so you got to give people a lot of different baits because everybody got different flavors. You got a Baskin Robinson's joint, and like you got to give them vanilla, all 31 flavors in terms
just
of your
make sure
angles
some
and
black
approach.
walnut in there if you're gonna do it, y'all. That's my favorite, black walnut and Rocky Road.
What? I'm so simple. I'm just like, if it's getting vanilla, man, I ain't got no. I don't venture that far off the ice cream stuff at all.
This is a
Black
good one.
walnut.
Rocky said, I told chat to give me 25 different emotions I can use to sell my book and build content from there. That's a great point.
That's so good. That's so good. I think it's so important to, and I'm glad she says emotions because emotions move people, right? So I think a lot of people don't do that. Like they don't think of how am I supposed to talk about this? They say, how am I going to talk about this one thing every day versus thinking about, well, how many ways can I talk about the thing? And there's so many different ways. You could get one for each day if you really like try.
I love that. I love that. So, folks, if you have questions for Gio, please go and put them into the comments, put them into the chat. We want to get those questions. If you're a part of the Profitable Speaker Circle, I know my members, so I will pull your questions first. If you're part of Speaking for Profit Academy, we'll put those questions as well. But a question I want to ask you, and this is me getting some shameless coaching from you, because that's what these interviews really are for. My question for you is, one of the things that I want to do is a rebrand, right? And we've kind of talked about this offline. A lot of my work is in identity, DEI, because that's what I did in corporate. But now that I have all these amazing skills. Hey there, I'm Evolve Benton, and if you're here, I know something about you. You're a powerful speaker with a message, and you're creating great impact in the world, but unfortunately, your income does not reflect that. That stops now. Welcome to the Profitable Speaker Circle, a system-led community where we focus on landing high-paid speaking contracts, building out your signature talk, and making sure that you have a system that is easeful for your life and for your business. In this program, I teach you the Wealthy Speaker Method, the exact strategies that my clients have used to make over $3 million in the speaking and consulting industry without big followings or speakers bureaus. Here's what you'll get as a member: the complete Wealthy Speaker Method, signature talk creator templates, your booking pipeline builder, virtual stage mastery system, and my authority building testimonial framework. Check out these clips as you hear from some of my clients who've moved from making $500 to $5,000 in the speaking and consulting industry.
So I'm coming in on the year starting from scratch with nothing. And I've already been able to collect and certify and finish up 3 speaking engagements totaling over $45,000 in revenue. We're still working on getting kind of all the other types of programs together, but I just had to stop and say just really all of what's happening and just being a burnout coach and knowing how important kind of the time is and how we balance things and how we work things out. I just have to say, with the material that we're going over, how they teach us how to actually be not just great speakers, but CEOs of our business, and the respect towards time and family and structure, and just really the TLC that's in this program is unlike anything I've ever seen.
The last couple of years, you've had ups and downs when it comes to the business, but I think the last few months you've spoken a lot. One, what was the most exciting speaking opportunity that you got? And 2, what's the biggest bag? Because people always want to know a little bit about the money.
I believe that the most exciting opportunity that I got a chance to do was for this organization called the Corporate Council for Men of Color. Right. And so they have different components to a Corporate Council for Men of Color, Corporate Council for Women of Color. And I got to talk about career progression, right? And how to progress in your career and some of the things that you could do. And they actually flew me out to New York, right? They flew me out to New York, first class.
Ooh,
and
fancy.
fancy. Right. Stayed at a really nice hotel right in the heart of New York City as well. And so that was really, really, I believe, one of the most exciting engagements that I had. And the biggest bag I got, you mean in terms of how much it was?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. The biggest bag I've got so far for one engagement has been $5,000.
Yeah.
And that is not including travel costs. Right. So they paid for flight, hotel, food, different things like that. But 5,000 came from just speaking, and the fact that after I spoke, they ordered books, even more books, because they ordered books for the event to pass out. Right. It's like, prizes for students who volunteered. But then after the fact, one of the directors said, hey, we want to buy more books. So they even bought some more books. So it was like $5,000 to do an hour engagement. They bought books, and that was in addition to travel costs. So that was the biggest bag that I've gotten thus far.
This isn't just another watch later course. This is a community that's going to help you create more impact and more income in your life and in your business. It's a proven system with real community, real results, and real wins. If you're done winging it and ready to build a profitable and sustainable speaking business, click the link below to join the Profitable Speaker Circle, and we'll see you inside. And if you're still not sure about it, we could book a strategy call and talk a little bit more about it together. The link is below. Skills and sales and speaking, I want to make a pivot. Is a book a great way to pivot your brand? Would you say that? And if so, how have you worked with people to pivot or shift their branding when it comes to developing a book?
Great question. I think it's an amazing way to do rebranding. I think, and you don't have to look that far to find that to be true, because just turn on the TV every morning and you'll find a celebrity who's trying to rebrand themselves and they went and published a book, right? So there's no maybe Amarion coming out with a book. That's a rebrand.
Definitely.
That's Amarion saying, you know what? I made some good money doing my heart pounding out of my chest with all these dances, but I just want to just make some money wearing clothes sometimes. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Meditating. He's on his piece right now, meditating.
yeah, people want that. Like you got the Eve coming out with a book. I just saw Brandy is coming out with her memoir called Phases, I believe, and she's coming off with that on the back end of the tour that she's doing with Monica. So you have all these people who are like, listen, I want to be seen differently, almost like how LeBron says, don't tell me shut up and dribble. Right. I have these other ideas that I want to do. I feel like the book will allow, it's almost like I never saw Men in Black, but when they like flash the thing or whichever movie.
You never saw Men in Black. We'll go back to that. But yes, when you flash.
Oh my gosh. I don't know why I said that for. Like, I'll be always saying something that people go say, you know what? We going to play Black Card Revoked when we done with this
yes,
stuff.
we are. Immediately.
And I think I really even mentioned the wrong movie or whatever, but like the flashing of whatever to like wipe out your memory, right? So I feel like the rebrand, it does a great job because you have a lot of space to show people what you do. Because here's what happens. When you want to rebrand, you are just telling people, I used to do this, I now do that. The book, using it as a rebrand, allows you to not just tell people you pivoted, but to give them episodes where they could visually see the change. Right. So, like I said, celebrities do it all the time. I think it's a great opportunity for you to, like when we talked about it, to say, hey, I want to show people this stuff. Because now you're going to take your one-page resume and stretch it out over 150 to 200 pages. Where people are going to see the sales. They're going to see the speaking. You're going to have examples of, hey, this didn't just work for me. Here's all the people in my academy who's applied this very same principle. So there's case studies in between each chapter that's showing people applying these strategies. So now people are going to be like, yeah, I'm sold. Like, I believe in this change and this pivot because I've seen it. And this is where I feel a lot of people are dropping the ball, is they don't understand that show and tell is not just for children.
Oh, so you dropping
show
gems
and,
right now.
Yeah. Show and tell is not just for children, people. It's for adults too. This is why QVC constantly is doing product demonstrations. I could tell you this stuff is going to get all your wrinkles out with just spraying it, but why should I just limit it to telling you when I could just show it to you? And so they're constantly doing this. And so I say, let's use I call it the QVC method. Don't stop at just telling me what you do. Show me what you do. Show me what it looks like waking up in the morning. Show me on your way to your speaking engagement. What does that look like? Show me how do you go and pull all these profit levers from your speaking engagement to allow you to be able to get repeat business. Show me these things. Don't say, hey, you could turn one speech into 10. Show me how I could do that. And I think the people who can do that the most are the ones who are able to go ahead and get the business that they're looking for.
I love it. Yes, and it's Men in Black. Yes.
Rocky, leave me alone.
We're gonna have to, when we get together as internet cousins, we're definitely playing Black Card Revoked, because
I can't tell you how many people. I can't tell you how many people got like DVDs saved that they're like, when we meet, we have stuff to watch, Gio, because I don't know what you went through in your childhood, but we got stuff to see.
We gotta get you caught up. So we got a couple of questions in the chat.
Yeah, let's do it.
I got one more for you about the book cover. That's my question for you. I see people do different things. Sometimes it's pictures of them. Sometimes it's like some real artsy nature type of stuff. Is there a direction? Does it depend on the book? Like, what are you thinking when it comes to the business of a book and credibility? Because I'm thinking most people are probably putting their face on it, right? Because especially if you're a speaker, your face card is the thing that you want people to move. You want people to see that book, see you, and automatically think of you as they're moving forward. But do you have any thoughts on that? And then we'll go to the questions in the
Yeah,
chat.
no, I'm 99.9%. Let me not say 99.9. 99% of the time, I tell people you should be on the cover. The only time I don't tell them they should be on the cover is if the market research deems it to not be in your favor to do that. So an example of this would be like my client Lena. I said, Lena, you gotta be on the cover. There's no question asked. When we did, she was writing a book called Cultural Humility, and she was talking about leadership, and she didn't want leadership to have a look, right? So she didn't want to be, okay, you see this African nurse, this is the way it's supposed to be like. So when we did our research, we noticed that there was no leadership book that had the person who wrote the book on the cover.
Good point.
And typically that's because leadership should not be about the individual. It should be about the it's about the we, not the me. So you'll rarely see a leadership book have the author on the cover, because then it's really hard for you to say it's about we when all I saw was me on the cover. Right. So again, I always look at the market research because I think it's important. When you look at book covers, you want to look at it like people don't judge a book by its cover. That's automatic. And you want to think about who, this is the thing that most people don't do. You want to think about who are going to be your neighbors. If you're looking at yourself as a book on a shelf, who lives on my block?
That's a good point.
You gotta know. You can't be like coming over here like, yo, all these houses look a certain way, and you coming out here and painting purple. No, they no, 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 no. Like, we gotta maintain the value of the whole block. We can't have you coming over here painting the doors purple. Like, you doing drop our property value down. So it's important for you to understand that while we want to be different and we want to stand out, sometimes you can stand out to a point where it's detrimental to the thing that we're trying to accomplish. So the goal is, what are we trying to accomplish? I'm trying to go and get this book into as many places as possible. What is something that's going to repel someone from doing that, or from the book being able to do that? And sometimes that might be you on the cover. Now, we're going to be on the back cover for sure. Lena's on the back cover. But the front cover, having her on there was not going to help the book sell. So the cover should always be like, everything should communicate in a way to help the book sell. So when you said artsy and all that stuff, my first book cover was very artsy. It was called The Thirst Is Real. And
The
it was
thirst is real. Okay, Gio.
yeah,
Was this before or after the kids? I don't know, Gio.
listen, you see, so I wrote the book. First of all, it had nothing to do with that stuff. So I had to address that up front in the book, because most people was like, yo, you writing something juicy. Like, tell me how we gonna get this relationship. I'm like, no, 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 no. This is about a relationship with your dreams, not a person. So, but when I said the thirst, I was using the metaphor of like our lives. We're always trying to accomplish some type of goal or dream, and how water, I want you to chase that dream as if somebody who was thirsty for some water in a desert. So in the visual part of me and the artsy part of me was like, yo, the book cover gotta have this silhouette hand reaching for a glass of water in the middle of the desert.
Oh, you went there.
I went there. So I had the book cover, and I looked at it, and my mentor at the time was like, Jill, like, why did you do this? Like, why is the art thing there? I said, well, then, it's you get it. Like, you can see it, like the person reaching and they reaching for the water, but if they don't get the water to go fade and evaporate it. And he's like, yo, listen, that's too much. That's too much. You're not helping the book by doing that. Now, if you want to be on some art gallery, that's cool. But this is not helping you make sales. So, Evolve, I literally went to my photographer's house, and he had the camera out. He was downloading some pictures. And I literally told him, like, yo, take a picture of me sitting on this step right here. And at that time, that was the highest quality photo that I had on my computer. And I just swiped it out. Literally, I didn't care if it was the best picture. I said, it's the highest in the megapixels. And we changed the cover, and it changed the game, because people were just able to see me. Like, they're like, and that's what I wanted to brand. The picture and all that stuff was just me being too clever, too cute. And if you feel like if you do your cover and you're like, oh my gosh, like, people gonna, mysteriously figure out this puzzle that I created. No, that's called confusion. And when people are confused, their mind says no. And what we're trying to get people to do is say yes. So I don't want to hurt myself or stab myself in the foot. I can't go and do those cute artsy stuff when it comes to covers.
Yeah, I love this. And when you're mentioning the leadership books, I'm thinking about like John Maxwell
Yeah,
and
I
some of
never
the
seen
other
them on the
folks.
cover.
I never even knew what the man looked like until like, he was doing a seminar somewhere and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
why is everybody wanting to go to this thing? And then I looked and said, oh, it's John Maxwell. I had no idea what he looked like, which is actually really
Mm.
powerful to know that he has like all of these books about leadership and mindset. And it is so team oriented. And I mean, I'm sure he's on the back of one of these books, but he doesn't make it about him. So that was a great gem to drop. So we've got a
No doubt.
question about pricing. So love the insight. How did you determine pricing for your first book? Is there a formula or strategies that you recommend authors to explore?
Great question. So this I give full credit to my mentor because he's the one who's helped me with the pricing. Again, first and foremost, you got to do your market research. So you got to know what are books normally commanding in this genre. So if I'm a nonfiction, self-help, leadership, motivational, what are they charging? Doesn't mean you're limited to that, but I just need an idea. After that, then I'm looking at, okay, if somebody was to buy my book, and this is the part my mentor told me, he said, Gio, if you price the book at $15, because typically you'll see them like $14.99 to $24.99 or $15, $20, $25, even up to $30. What he said is if somebody's buying your book, you want to make that transaction as seamless as possible. And you don't want to have the headache of change. So if you charge $15, they're going to give you 20, you got to give them a 5 back, right? Or they got to give you a 10 and a 5 to get it. So he was like, just charge $20. Everyone knows there's a $20 bill and the transaction's over. You don't got to worry about no change or anything like that. And so most books you will see is in that $20 range. If you do go with a hard cover, you can typically add $5 to $9 to that price point of the paperback to go and come up with the pricing. And then the digital or ebook version of it is typically like 30 to 40% of whatever the paperback price was. The other thing that you want to be mindful of is when you're doing bulk sales, if you drive the price of your book too low, you can't give people discounts for bulk sales without hurting your own pocket. So when I charge $20 and then I say if you buy 500 copies, I discount it to $14.99. Now they're saving $6 per book, but $6 per book times 500 copies is $3,000 that they saved from that. And I don't really hurt because in the self-publishing space, it only cost me $3 to print it. So now print and shipping is going to cost me $4 or $4.50. I got it for $14.99 for each copy, and then it's times 500. Now I'm really making some good money in regards to that. So that's really on the private. I typically don't go above. I typically tell everybody $19.99 unless the market tells us something different.
Okay. I love that. And one thing that started to happen to me, Gio, and I don't know if this happened to you, but people, especially when you're at speaking events, they'll give you a $20. And let's say your book is 10, keep the change, right? They give you $50, keep the change. So sometimes people even show a little bit more love on the back end. And I think that that's also cool, right? That they're able to support you and kind of pay even more than that if they want to for the book. Like people have paid me for my poetry collection like $40. Like, here, Evolve, I just want to give you an extra tip and show you some love. So people do that as well.
And it's important that this is also why it's important to have a product beyond just you speaking.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. So we don't have any more questions in the chat, but I got one more for you. If anybody got a question, go on and put it in there, and then we'll wrap it up. Let's tie this in, right? Because we talked about you were like a speaker and wasn't nobody trying to pay for you. And then you got this book and they wanted to do it. So you start getting speaking gigs, but then people also, I'm assuming, started writing your book. Are there any other ways that we can make money from this strategy that we're not talking about? Right? Like, are there other ways that we can leverage the book in particular to make money?
Yeah, and I think that there's ways. I think a book translates very well to courses because they're already in chapter form. So you just call it, you go from a chapter to a module And it's like, because different people want to consume the information in different ways. So some people want to be able to hear you deliver it over video. Some people want to be online and go self-paced. They just like being on a computer. They don't want to read the paperback book itself. The cool thing is, when you do take it and repurpose it to something else, they typically come with different price points. So I remember I wrote my book, The Thirst is Real. Then there was a after school program in California that ended up paying $25K for me to teach their kids how to write a book. And the book they wrote was basically about their life, like lessons learned from just living, like, how they overcome hardships, struggles, what they dreamed for, one thing they wish they knew earlier. But they were the ones who were the authors. But the book that I wrote would have they would have never hired me to go and teach somebody else how to write the book if I didn't write one. And so the power of storytelling is so powerful that you can leverage the fact that you told your story and tell people that I can help you go ahead and get your story out too with the same framework. And so I've seen curriculums be built, and curriculums command different, like they start at five figures.
Yeah.
You could literally, once you write a book, you could technically just become a publisher on other people's behalf, because people don't want to do certain things other than write the book itself. So you could be a self-publisher or a hybrid publisher just from knowing the process of how to do it. And then the other part of it that I think is important for all of us to hear is, most of the time I make more money with my book giving it away than selling it. Right? So people are like, oh man, I sold my book. I sold 2 copies of my book for $40. I'm like, you would have made more money giving away 5 copies of your book to the right people. And like, imagine like, in our business where you're like, okay, I gave 5 copies of my book to 5 superintendents. I call superintendents like power outlets. There's mad other little sockets that's connected to that one power source. But if the superintendent says, district wide, we're now reading this book, that's not a, hey, if y'all feel like it, you have to do it. That's, I already said yes for you.
Yep.
Right. And so I think
take advantage of that bureaucracy.
No, for sure. I think a lot of us don't realize, like, my book don't make money or whatever. It's because, first of all, did you write a book that you knew a superintendent would fall in love with, or the person on that level? So one of my clients, Patrice Shepard, she wrote a book about how to go through the breast cancer journey differently. It's literally called Doing It Differently. Because, you have this whole school of thought of, when cancer comes, it becomes cancer sucks, F cancer, all this thing. And it's not wrong. Whichever way you got, cancer sucks, it's true. How you want to go and overcome the battle that you're about to go through is your prerogative. But her prerogative was, I got to just be positive. Like, if cancer is going to take something from me, I'm going to take something back. And so she had this whole framework of how to do it in a positive way. But when we started to think about writing the book, we didn't think about the breast cancer patient. We thought about the oncologist who is always giving brochures about medications and stuff, and not giving them a real story to read about how to go through breast cancer. So now the game is different, because now we're plugging into networks. We could plug into insurance companies and say, hey, yo, stop buying. I know you got to get the medication stuff because pharma pays a lot of money. But slide in a positive book that competitor wouldn't do, buys that bulk, and then all of a sudden you're able to make a lot more money. So I just feel like the book allows you to imagine ways to make money that without the book you never would have thought of.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, we talked a little bit about that at the beginning.
Did I lose you? Oh, there you go. Okay.
Am I here still? Can you still hear me? Okay. But yeah, there's so many ways.
There you go.
Okay, cool. You're frozen too on my end, so I know something is unstable, but we'll figure it out on the back end. But we do have one more question from Victor. Victor is actually one of our Speaking for Profit Academy clients. Victor did something really, really dope, Gio. Victor wrote I think 3 books in a weekend. So he is an amazing
What?
expert. Yes, he just got down to it and has so much to share. He has an amazing story, but he said, if someone starts to work with you, what would the process look like from first call to getting a book ready for publishing?
Yeah, the
And
first
I know
call
for a fact,
is
Gio, put it on good. I know for a fact that Victor is hiring a book coach as we speak. So this is your pitch time. This is for everybody who's
got
interested in working with
it.
Gio.
No, that's right. Good question, Victor. So no, the first call is what we call a birthing plan, and in that we get very clear on what is the outcome you're looking for, and we devise a plan to make sure that we're writing the book and doing all the marketing to get to that very specific goal. So we isolate what it is that we're trying to accomplish first and foremost. The book is supposed to only support the goal that we're trying to accomplish. So I want you to think bigger than the book. The book is supposed to work for you to get the thing that you're looking for. So that initial call, we break down the goal, we break down timelines, we break down rhythms, writing schedules, first plans if things go everything perfectly. What's the backup plan if something bad happens, so that we can make sure we are proofing and creating scaffolds so that the book is inevitably going to get done. Then after that, there are different points where we check in, where I start off with send me an outline first. After the outline is confirmed, then we go and say, okay, I need you to send me your perfect chapter. So people are like, well, what are you talking about a perfect chapter? So I have a perfect chapter framework that if you get that right, all you got to do is just repeat it for the amount of chapters that we've determined in the outline. So we have that, and then you have the perfect conclusion and the perfect introduction. Once those things are done, the manuscript is finished, and then we get it edited. And while it's getting edited, your book cover is getting designed. My team, we already have interior designers, book cover designers, all the people that you would need. You basically just hire my team to do it for you instead of you having to go ahead and do research. So everything is in house, and I'm the overseer, where I serve as a project manager in addition to your development editor and your book strategist, to make sure that you're not overwhelmed in the process. So my goal is for your self-published book to look traditionally published, where everyone literally says, who is your publisher? Because they would have never fathomed that you could do this on your own. And then also for you to know that you're driving this car, but never alone. So at any point in time when you need to pull over, we don't even got to pull over. Like, I'll take over the wheel if needed, so that we can continue to keep this momentum going. Because I think that that's the number one thing we must protect in writing a book is the momentum. Because once you stop, it's just so much harder to start again.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that process, Victor. Please go on and I'll drop Gio's information. I know that he's probably interested in getting on a call, Gio. So send me. I know you gave me a link to your course, but send me the calendar link and I'll get it over to him as well.
Got it.
But you also got a testimonial here, right? Rocky is saying that the process was seamless, strategic, clarity, and just real. He does not hold back, and also said, just hire him. Don't think about it for real.
No, I appreciate it. Her book. She. Those are people that I'm so grateful for. And I always tell people I have the best job in the world, but because before the world sees the impact that a book can do, it impacts me. I told Rocky her book made me reconcile some things that was not even top of mind. And I get to go and experience that with everybody's book, right? I'm like, oh snap, man, I don't even know what's coming out. I found out about this 3 months ago. So so that's the cool part about it. But I'll tell people, if I was to say to your idea of the pitch, is I look at every book that I work on and I say yes to as our book. I take it personal. I care about it. I'm the one looking at the bestsellers list, even though you didn't think about it, and taking screenshots to make sure that you know that the effort that you did got the result that you may have been looking for, or hey, it's a byproduct of the work that we've done.
I love it. And I love that you're so, intimate with your clients and you make sure that the process gets done. Because so many people are dreaming, right? And you really are I think you call yourself what the speaker, the book doula.
The book doula, yeah,
right? And that's really what you're doing, right? This is a birthing process that you're leaving people with. So, folks, one thing I want y'all to know is Gio has given us access to his course, not for the free, but an opportunity to purchase it. So I put the link to the course in our community space. If you look at the pinned post at the top of our post, you'll see Gio's amazing face. You'll see a link to that. But that is just like a self-paced course, right, Gio? You have that, and then you also have more of an opportunity for people to actually work with you and your team one-on-one. So there's like two different services that you can look at depending on what support you need. I would suggest getting the support from the team and from Gio. I think a course is great, but if you really want that accountability for someone not to just hold your hand, but to make sure that you have the marketing down, you have the cover down, like go on and invest in the full purpose of the project. Because I don't want y'all to think about, somebody asked about pricing, and that's why I wanted you to talk about what are the different ways to make money. A book is a longevity type of thing, y'all. This is evergreen. Once you have this written, you can market this continuously in your speaking business over and over again, and you will have that credibility for life. So it's not just like the $20 that you're exchanging with one person, it's licensing, it's paid opportunity, it's credibility, it's being featured on TV shows and in commercials and news channels and all of that. So this is worth the investment, and I'm excited to work with you in 2026 to manifest my next book as well. Anything else you want to share with the community or folks before we head out?
I think you said that it's kind of piggybacking off what you just said. I firmly believe that people think there's a DIY method to doing this, and I'm not saying there isn't. What I am saying though is I think you're thinking of yourself too small if you're trying to do DIY it. Right. So I could go ahead and clean my house and build the bed and all this stuff. Or I could play with my son, laugh with my 4-month-old daughter, think about the problem that my wife has that she doesn't even know is a problem yet. Like that's the stuff I'm able to do because someone else is doing the work with me. And so I think one of the biggest mistakes people make when they're self-publishing is they try to figure out on their own. They go for the cheap. And I'm like, listen, don't go for the cheap. Like think of your book like it's a wedding. Don't just go ahead and just like people when they go and do their weddings, they don't hold back because their intent is I probably ain't gonna do this again. Like ideally, right? I want you to look at your book as this is your first book. And while Alex Hormozy, we talked about him and his trilogy, that first book set the tone for every book that's to come. And so, with you're working on your book right now, do not give that first impression doesn't have a do over. So come correct. Like, don't come with that bad book cover that you figured out on Canva and you mad hype because we bought you a template and you slid your picture on the cover because you said 99% or whatever. Like, I want you to think like the great graphic designer has access and knows typography and fonts at a level where that looks like it's a Gucci thing versus you buying something from Sears, if that even exists anymore, right? So I want you to think that just the font alone speaks to, oh, this is elegant. And most people make decisions subconsciously. So they're looking at your cover and they're determining if you're a $5,000 speaker or a $500 speaker just off the font of your cover, just off the back cover, not looking professionally done. And so I don't want you to have a book that's sitting in your house that you're ashamed to sell because you didn't do it correctly. It reminds me of a gentleman, Anthony Ganji. He wrote a book. It was called Inmate Manipulation. And he had this book online the whole time. And I said, yo, why are you not selling the book? And he literally said, I was embarrassed by the way it looked. We didn't change one word. Evolve. Listen to me. We didn't change one word in the book. We just rebranded the way it looked. The cover was A1, next level. We changed the title to make it A1 so that there's 100% clarity. He went in to sell like, I think over 10,000 to 20,000 copies of the same book that was collecting digital dust. And so this is all to say, when you get the professional, you act brand new. And I want you to act brand new. And I would say this, you're not acting brand new. People are able to see who you always were supposed to be.
I love it. Y'all give it up for Gio. Put the word money in the chat if you're ready to write your first or next book. the right way. And if you're going to hire a friend of S for P, I just want to thank you so much for your time, for your energy. I know you could be spending time with the family, but you spend time with us. And I just want to give you kudos for continuing to be that doula. I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful that our clients will get an opportunity to work with you and to establish this. So thank you so much for being here, Gio. We will
Thank
share
you.
that. We'll share the information to connect with Gio in the description of this video. If you're watching it in replay, and if you're not in the Profitable Speaker Circle, please join our free community. We will have these type of conversations on a weekly basis to be able to support you all with not just growing your speaking business, but growing your speaker brand and your ecosystem. It's not just about one gig. It's about having longevity and building the credibility so that you are a household name. So thank you again, Gio.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. All right, y'all.
All
Until
right.
next time, peace.
Peace.